The rain was coming down in sheets as I stared out the window of my small apartment in Seattle. I'm Kellen, 43, a software developer. My life until recently had been comfortably predictable. I had a good job, a cozy home, and a wife, Imogen, whom I loved more than anything. Or so I thought. Imogen and I had been married for 15 years. We met in college, a whirlwind romance that felt like something out of a movie. She was vibrant, artistic, and full of life, everything I wasn't. I was the quiet, dependable type, content with coding and spending evenings indoors. She brought color to my world, but lately the color had faded. Imogen, a successful architect, had been working long hours, often coming home late and exhausted. I attributed it to the demands of her job. She was designing a new eco-friendly skyscraper downtown, a project she was incredibly passionate about. I supported her, made her dinners, and tried to ease her stress. The first crack in our seemingly perfect facade appeared subtly. Imogen started taking extra care with her appearance. New clothes, different perfumes, and a sudden interest in working out at a fancy gym downtown. I noticed, but I brushed it off. Maybe she was just feeling good about herself. I wanted her to feel good about herself. Then came the late-night phone calls. She'd step out onto the balcony, her voice hushed, her back to me. When I asked who she was talking to, she'd say it was a client discussing last-minute changes to the skyscraper plans. I trusted her. I loved her. Why would I doubt her? The doubt, however, began to creep in like the Seattle fog. It started with a forgotten anniversary. We had always celebrated, even with just a simple dinner at home. This year she forgot. She apologized profusely, blaming her hectic schedule. I tried to forgive her, but a seed of unease had been planted. One Saturday morning, Imogen told me she had to go into the office. A big meeting with the investors, she explained, kissing me quickly on the cheek before rushing out the door. I decided to surprise her with lunch. I packed a picnic basket with her favorite sandwiches and headed downtown. When I arrived at her office building, the receptionist informed me that Imogen wasn't there. "She hasn't been in all day, Mr. Kellen," she said with a polite smile. "Are you sure she was supposed to be here?" My heart sank. A cold dread washed over me. I thanked the receptionist and walked out, my mind racing. Where was she? Who was she meeting with? The picnic basket suddenly felt heavy in my hands. I decided to drive around, aimlessly searching for her car. After an hour, I spotted it parked in front of a small, upscale Italian restaurant a few blocks from her office. My stomach clenched. The restaurant was known for its romantic ambience and intimate setting. I parked across the street and waited. My hands were shaking, my palms sweating. I told myself I was overreacting. Maybe she was meeting a client for lunch. Maybe I was just being paranoid. Then I saw her. Imogen emerged from the restaurant laughing. She was with a man who wasn't me. He was tall, handsome, and dressed in an expensive suit. They were holding hands, their fingers intertwined. He leaned in and kissed her, a long, lingering kiss that sent a jolt of pain through my entire body. I watched in stunned silence as they walked down the street, their bodies close, their laughter echoing in the air. I couldn't breathe. The world around me seemed to blur. My wife, the woman I loved, was cheating on me. I drove home in a daze, the picnic basket still sitting on the passenger seat, a cruel reminder of my naivety. I walked into our apartment, the place that was supposed to be our sanctuary, and felt like a stranger. I waited for her to come home, my anger simmering beneath a layer of disbelief. When she finally walked through the door hours later, she looked surprised to see me. "Kellen, what are you doing home?" she asked, her voice a little too cheerful. I didn't say anything. I just stared at her, the image of her kissing that man seared into my mind. She shifted uncomfortably. "Is something wrong? Who was that?" I finally managed to choke out. She hesitated, her eyes darting around the room. "Who was who?" "The man you were with at the Italian restaurant," I said, my voice rising. "The man you were kissing." Her face paled. "Kellen, I don't lie to me." "Imogen," I said, my voice trembling with rage. "Just tell me the truth." She burst into tears. "It just happened," she sobbed. "I didn't mean for it to happen." "Who is he?" I demanded. "His name is Griffin," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "He's the lead contractor on the skyscraper project." "The skyscraper project?" I repeated, my voice laced with sarcasm. "So all those late nights, all those phone calls." She nodded, her head bowed in shame. I felt like I had been punched in the gut. The woman I had trusted, the woman I had loved, had been lying to me for months. She had betrayed me in the worst possible way. How long? I asked, my voice flat. A few months, she admitted. It started with late-night meetings, then he didn't let her finish. Get out, I said, my voice cold. Get out of my house. She looked up at me, her eyes filled with tears. Kellen, please, I don't want to see you, I said. I don't want to hear you, just go. She left, her sobs echoing through the apartment. I stood there alone, surrounded by the wreckage of my marriage. The next few weeks were a blur. I hired a lawyer, filed for divorce, and tried to piece my life back together. The pain was unbearable. I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep, and I couldn't stop thinking about Imogen and Griffin. My friends, Barnaby and Silas, tried to support me, but I pushed them away. I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want to feel anything. One evening, Barnaby came over unannounced. He found me sitting in the dark, staring at the wall. Kellen, you can't keep doing this to yourself, he said, his voice gentle. You need to talk about it. You need to let it out. I shook my head. There's nothing to talk about, I said. She cheated on me. End of story. It's not the end of the story, Kellen, Barnaby said. It's the beginning of a new chapter. You can't let her ruin your life. His words struck a chord. I knew he was right. I couldn't let Imogen's betrayal define me. I had to move on. I had to find a way to heal. I started going to therapy. It was difficult at first, but slowly I began to open up. I talked about my anger, my sadness, and my fear. I realized that I had been so focused on Imogen that I had lost sight of myself. I started taking care of myself again. I went back to the gym, started eating healthy, and reconnected with old friends. I even took up painting, something I had always wanted to do but never had the time for. As I healed, I started to see things more clearly. I realized that Imogen's affair wasn't about me. It was about her own insecurities and unhappiness. She had made a choice, and it was a choice that had destroyed our marriage. I also learned that Griffin was not who he seemed to be. He had a reputation for sleeping with his employees, and he had a history of financial impropriety. He was using Imogen to get ahead in his career. Armed with this information, I decided to take action. I contacted the investors of the skyscraper project and anonymously provided them with evidence of Griffin's misconduct. They launched an investigation and Griffin was fired. Imogen's career also suffered. Her reputation was tarnished, and she lost several major clients. She tried to contact me, but I refused to speak to her. I knew that revenge wouldn't bring me happiness, but it gave me a sense of closure. I had stood up for myself and I had exposed the truth. One day I received a letter from Imogen. In it, she apologized for her actions and admitted that she had made a terrible mistake. She said that she had lost everything: her career, her reputation, and me. I didn't respond to her letter. I had moved on. I had found a new life, a life that was free from her lies and betrayal. Years later, I met someone new, a kind, intelligent woman named Gwendaline. We fell in love and we built a life together. I learned to trust again, to love again, and to be happy again. Imogen's betrayal had left a scar, but it had also made me stronger. I had learned that I was capable of surviving anything, even the most devastating heartbreak. I had learned that I deserved to be loved, and I had finally found someone who loved me for who I was. The rain outside had stopped, and the sun was beginning to peek through the clouds. I smiled, grateful for the new life I had built, a life that was filled with love, happiness, and peace. It wasn't the life I had planned, but it was a life that was truly mine.